Welcome back to Conversations. I'm Robin Fahr, and as promised, John DeKoven is with me. He's the chief executive comic over at Bunjo's Comedy Lounge. And just going to his website, I got to say, that's just a laugh a minute, but it's probably a lot more fun in person. How are you? Great to have you back.
Great. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you. I went on the site, and I was watching you and your bro. Just kind of where the word Bunjo's came from, how you came up with this name, and I just thought it was a pet's name or something like that, and it was just great. But it reminded me so much of just childhood with your sibling and how the funny things that happen. Your dad, this is where you all get this from. Your dad was a riot.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if I want to give it all away, but he basically had his own language.
I love that.
And when we were trying to think of a name for the club, me, my brother, and actually my wife were sitting around, and we didn't want to name it like a typical Funny Bone or, you know, Crackers or whatever. And we just said, hey, we should just, in honor of my dad, pick one of his words, because all of his words sounded funny anyways. And that was one of them. I mean, there's a lot more words. We talk about it on the tape. People can go watch it on the website. But that was the word we came up with because it sounded the best. It sounded funny.
It is funny, and yet it's a sweet name, too. I mean, it wasn't one of the names that he would be kind of, you know, putting you down. This was, if you're a Bunjo,
you're a good person.
You're a good guy, and you're having fun, and life. It's a sweet term of endearment, really great. So I mean, so it fits a comedy club.
Right. And my brother and I are always laughing about it, thinking like my dad would be laughing that so many people are now saying that word that nobody ever used to say except for us.
Ah, that's just so cute. So you guys are in, Bunjo's is in a Chinese restaurant?
Exactly.
And I was thinking, okay, that's never happened before. However,
we also have a video on our website talking about in the heyday of comedy in Boston, there was a restaurant called the Hing Do, which was...
No, the Ding Ho, wasn't it?
The Ding Ho, I'm sorry, the Ding Ho.
The Ding Ho ain't my baby, no, it was the Ding Ho.
Yeah, right, exactly. And it was a Chinese restaurant. It was the #1 comedy club in Boston, and guys like Jay Leno, Stephen Wright, Dennis Leary, all these guys, that's where they started. And when I watched this movie, which I'm forgetting the name of right now, it was so funny because exactly everything I go through, like the staff doesn't really understand what we're doing. They just know we have entertainment there. It's funny, they call the comedians speakers. Oh. So they'll ask us like, how many speakers do you have tonight? But they're great. I mean, they're great to work with, but they don't really know what we're doing. And it was just like in that movie.
Oh, that's too funny. So how does it work? So people can have dinner at the Chinese restaurant if they want?
They can have dinner, they can come in early and eat in the restaurant. If they want to come in later, they can eat during the show.
Is the show off to the side?
We have our own space. We're in a lounge. It's a separate space. There's a bar. So it's separate from the restaurant. It's just in the same building. And they don't have to have dinner there. I mean, if they just want to have a couple drinks and some appetizers, that's fine too.
That's fine. Just tip your waitress, that's for sure.
Exactly.
So who do you got coming up? You get up there all the time, right? I mean, you're not just the chief executive comic, right?
I usually host the show.
Okay.
The thing with comedy is even the best comedians in the world usually are always doing the same 15 to 20 minutes. So to me, to keep doing that every week would get very boring for me. And also we get a lot of regulars. Yeah. So I usually host the show, and I'll do some crowd work. I'll talk to the audience, find out where they're from, who's got the birthdays. I like to try to do political humor, like what's been going on that week. And then we usually have about 4 or 5 other comics to round out the show. And our headliner is usually someone who performs at all the other clubs, the Improv, the Punchline, except they're coming out here so the people don't have to go out there.
So great. Well, we just need it right here in our own little neighborhood. So where do you and other comics get your material from? I mean, when I watch comedy, I love it when something's happened, maybe that's not the best news in their life, and that's material. Is that how it always goes? Does it have to be come from a difficult thing, and rather than cry about it and make fun of it?
I think a lot of people, that's how they get into comedy. Like I've explained to people, the way I got into comedy was from a very painful divorce. And rather than, you know, to kind of get relief from the stress, I started doing stand-up. So instead of paying a shrink $150 an hour, I could talk to the audience about it for free.
And you didn't hear from her lawyer saying, stop
no,
this public
actually I
humiliation?
did, because I had a website. It was called helpjohngetdivorced.com. And that was actually part of our divorce settlement. I had to shut it down. It's actually in the divorce papers.
Oh.
That was a long time ago.
It was, but it's good, funny stuff. So
Yeah.
it comes from a place of a little bit of angst sometimes and being able to see the funny side of it.
Or it could also be, you know, good things. I got married a year ago, so of course now my new wife has to be part of my material.
She must have known going in.
Well, she knew,
Yeah.
and I think actually at one point she was a little upset because she said, you know, you're still talking about your ex-wife a lot. I think you need to start talking about us.
Oh, I
Right.
agree. I agree. So, and she can, yeah. So
I
funny
think-
things happen in marriage too.
Of course,
Yes.
of course.
Yeah.
And she's from Scotland. She's very attractive, way out of my league. I mean, there's all kinds of material to draw from. And then, of course, some comics, they just like to do about the ridiculousness of everyday life.
Right.
Like Seinfeld type humor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to be looking at life, though, to catch those things. I've been hanging out with people recently that are missing it all.
Right.
You know, funny things are happening all the time, and they're just texting, and I just look up, and I mean, there is so much. I could stand up. I'm not going to come. No, I will not come and do stand up.
You may want to, though, because we are starting. We were doing it before. We're starting it up again now on Fridays. We're going to be doing an open mic.
Oh my goodness.
So, but the difference is than a traditional open mic is we're going to have veteran and good comics come out as well as the beginners. So that way somebody coming out to see the show isn't just going to be bored to tears the whole time. So, you know, we'll maybe have a beginner do 2 or 3 minutes and have a veteran comedian do 10. So that way at least the audience is getting something for their money,
Right.
so to speak.
Well, this is an interesting idea. How much, yes, they're new, they're brand new, but they have to have delivered it somewhere before. I mean, really, do people get up there and for the first time, just in front of a group of people they don't know, just try and be funny? I mean, that takes huge
I mean,
guts.
some do. I think there's a lot of classes. People take comedy classes, so maybe they've practiced before, but it's not like the guitar where you could sit in your living room for a long time and just keep playing until you're decent and then go in front of a crowd.
No.
Comedy, you have to be in front of a crowd. That's the only way to get good.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how good you are. If you're not in front of a crowd every night, you're not going to advance.
What do you do? I mean, all of us go to work and have a bad day now and again. As a comic, if you have a bad day, a bad night, it's in front of a whole bunch of people. How do you go back to work the next day?
Well, I think everybody handles it differently. I think if you're a good comic, you know, that's part of the territory and you just got to forget about it. And that old saying, you know, get back on the horse, because there's some audiences, that's the thing about comedy, you could be a great comic in San Francisco and you come out to Dublin and they're just not going to get you. It's a different type of crowd. Or I could go out to San Francisco and I have to change my setup a bit because they want stuff that's maybe a little edgier, maybe a little dirtier, you know, that type of thing. So if you have a bad night, you just got to forget about it. And just come back the next day.
That's just so much harder than the rest of us having a bad day at the office, because we can do that privately, and then, you know, maybe the boss sees the mistake, but that's it. And no, you guys are just right out in front of everybody. Do you then go to other comedy clubs and sort of watch and see what's going on and be a member of the audience? And do you still go out and perform in places other than Bunjo's?
Oh yeah, yeah. I like to go to other places because again, at Bunjo's I'm just hosting. So I'm really kind of winging it all the time. It's more an improv thing, where if I go out to another club, like let's say in San Francisco, then I can just do 10, 15, 20 minutes and I kind of have my set that I do. And it's just a different hosting versus doing a set it's two different animals, and there's a lot of comics they just cannot host. They can't handle being the first one up and maybe not getting laughs, which I think is the hardest part.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it just seems to me, I mean, do you get stage fright? Do you get, it's so different from performing in theater, for example, where, you know, you're glad the audience is out there because that's who you're performing for, but it stays with, you know, on the stage. In this comedy, you've got to, that is the second half of this, is those people in the audience. That's so frightening to me.
You know,
I mean, I know I got all these cameras on here, but it's a whole different thing.
I mean, a lot of comics are very insecure. That's the funny thing, is you see a comic on stage and then you can see a comic off stage, and they're two totally different people. Like, they'll be on stage and they'll be very confident, and then off stage they just want to run away and not talk to anybody. Yeah. So me, I don't really get the stage fright, but there are a lot of comics that do, and they just deal with it in some way.
But you get a little something, right? A little adrenaline rush or something like that?
Me, not really. I mean, I'm not saying that's good or bad.
No, just what it is.
I just don't. I just get up there, I figure, you know, hey, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? If I totally bomb, there's much worse things that have happened in the world, so, you know, it doesn't bother me. Although I have to say it rarely happens.
Rarely
so,
happens,
exactly.
yes. Okay, now, just have to throw this in there because people have been asking me, you know, now that John's married, is he still hosting Anti-Valentine's Day?
Still, of course.
Oh, good. Okay,
yeah,
so we're
definitely.
Still not going for the Hallmark holiday.
My wife is all for it. I mean, not in that way, but no, we still do our Anti-Valentine's Day.
Good.
We do an annual Festivus holiday, which is for those who watch Seinfeld.
Right.
We do a Festivus show. It's on the 23rd, and we do a Halloween show that's coming up where all the comedians dress in costumes. So, you know, we're always trying to do fun little different things.
And you're open how many nights a week and what nights?
Well, it's always Friday and Saturday for sure.
Okay.
We also do a lot of fundraisers and private events. So that's the thing. If a nonprofit wants to do a show, we work out a deal with them where they get the room. We book the show for them. It would be on a Sunday through a Thursday. They sell the tickets for what they want, and they keep all the profit. Wow. So it's a win-win.
It's just so great.
Yeah.
You've got some really great things coming up, I have to say. I was just enjoying just reading what's coming up. So we just have to tell people, you got to get over there. You need a laugh. Everybody needs a laugh right about now. You know, things haven't been that funny in real life. So let's just laugh at other people's errors. You know, let's just do that. Let me give you some information. Bunjo's Comedy Lounge, and now you know why it's called Bunjo's. Dad came up with that. www.bunjoscomedy.com, and spell Bunjo correctly, B-U-N-J-O. Okay, bunjoscomedy.com. Yes, S, because bunjoscomedy.com. Right. And the phone number over there, 925-264-4413. But check out the website, because if you think you might be able to do some stand-up, this would be a great place to see what's going on. They're nice. You guys are kind. You don't hurt too many people.
I think so. It's nice. It's a small room. It's very intimate. And we should also say our ticket prices are very friendly.
Okay, good. And you can get some Chinese food while you're there. Great to have you back, John. It's just great to see you. You're looking so happy. Makes me happy. And that'll do it for this edition of Conversations. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. We'll do it again next week. But until then, I'm Robin Fahr. You have a wonderful day. If you'd like to order a copy of this show, please visit our website at trivalleytv.org.